It's day 13 of my Compose 31 Pieces of Music in 31 Days challenge. Sorry if you're hearing my air conditioning, by the way. Even though it's not Friday the 13th, I woke up thinking of lucky number 13 and thought I might try to take another stab at writing a creepy piece. And I remembered some of the weird distortion interference sounds that I was getting out of the SK-1 after I broke it, and thought I might try to utilize that a little bit. So I have the SK-1 plugged in, which I've learned kind of makes sounds if you go through an external speaker source. It's just the really gross sound if you're using the onboard speaker. So I plugged it in. I found some cool sounds that kind of grate against each other using the flute sample. And I played those into the quick sampler, and off I go. So we'll see what happens, how much I use the sounds of the SK-1 versus just typical Logic sounds. I don't know how long I've been working on this, but I came up with something that I like the way it is. But I'm holding on to that one. Maybe it technically counts as a piece of music, maybe not, I don't know. But I like it, and if I'm able to pull together the short film I talked about wanting to try to do, then you'll get to hear it. If I don't, then maybe I'll show it to you at the end. I moved on to something different, using the same ideas. I took my broken SK-1 and ran it into my computer and made a couple different samples using the flute sounds and then some of the distortion sounds whenever the notes beat against each other, and also the drums. So everything that I've used so far on today's piece of music that you're going to hear came from the SK-1, though it was heavily processed to get it to the sound it is now. And this one's not exactly something you can dance to, as my dad would say. It's more just ethereal. I could picture this playing on a movie when somebody's like walking through a foggy, dark forest, trying not to stumble on a bunch of monsters or something. But I think I'm going to take a break, go have some lunch, a late lunch, it's already 1:50, and then come back and try to wrap this up, see where it goes. But I do feel a lot better about this as my creepy piece than the creepy one I tried to write, maybe day 2. So I just came back from a late lunch, and I'm checking in on the piece, and I don't know if I like it as much as I did earlier today, but it's late enough in the day that I can't abandon it and try something new. So we're in salvage mode here, and I mean, it's not that it's a bad piece. I think it's just not the vision I had for it to begin with. It's actually just turned into more of like a retro video game cave or dungeon type soundtrack, partially because of the sounds. Like, they are 80s electronic sounds. Even after all kinds of extra processing and everything, they still have that core sound. Maybe I lean into that. Maybe something will change in the next bit. It's getting close to the time that I need to be wrapping this up so I can move on to the video portion. Or if this ends up being one of those that you file under the "they can't all be winners" category. It's not that today was a total loss. I have a cue that I think came out really well. Sounds modern and everything. But I'm not counting it for today's piece. Technically, I have like 1 2/2 pieces that I didn't have this morning. So I mean, today's good. Today's a win. It's just a matter of how much of a win. It's almost 5 o'clock and I'm not really happy with what I've come up with. Wrote a few lines that don't quite work, so I've muted them. And I'm going to go back and try to come up with something different in those spots. See if it makes it any better. So I realized something. As soon as I put the step sequencer in there for the drum beats, the whole piece changed. I think for the negative. But now I can't hear it any other way, so it has a groove, and I kind of wish it didn't. The second thing was it also locked it into more of a traditional flow of a piece, and I started just adding essentially loops into it, and it just was like loop overload. So I don't know. I mean, the piece works. Doesn't have a melody anywhere. It's just like background material for somebody to solo over, I guess. I don't know. But it's already well after 5, and I still need to put the video together. So I'm going to listen through a few more times and see if there's any small tweaks I can make to make it feel better to me as a piece. I mean, I don't feel like it's awful. I'm just not as happy with it as I thought I was going to be 5 hours ago. I've listened a few times and added one more line. This one didn't come from the SK-1. It was just a regular synth on Logic. I couldn't get anything that was just really long and floaty off of the SK-1. I'm sure if I dug deeper, I could figure it out. But it seemed to help. It gave it a little bit more direction to where whenever I listen to it, I'm not just sitting there quite as angry. So I don't know. I'm going to keep tooling with this one. I think it definitely would serve a purpose. This is just one checking number 13 off the list. Maybe it wasn't lucky number 13 after all. But anyway, so I'm going to let you hear this. Let me know what you think. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought, and I'll see you tomorrow.